What's up, y'all? Today, I am not going to do a reaction. I'm not going to do a review. I want to talk about something a little bit different, almost just a little bonus video. And it's something I haven't seen a ton of people talking about, even though I feel like it's happening, I don't know, kind of obviously, at least to me. But it's just a theory. But this video is going to be about Taylor Swift and whether or not she is trying to make a way back to country music. Now, let me say this off the bat. If your whole purpose in being here on this video, and if all you really enjoy doing when it comes to Taylor Swift on the internet is just writing "she sucks" or like "Taylor can't sing" or whatever you want to say, like, I just think you're so uninteresting and so unopen to really hearing good music. I question whether you just simply like to push against the mainstream or whether you really like to engage with music, because Taylor, while she might be at the zenith of popularity, is a pretty interesting artist, and I think that's undeniable. I will concede, she does not have the best voice on earth, but I'll be hard-pressed to find a singer that has better delivery than her. I feel like any line Taylor says, when she says, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream, like, that line goes so many places in how she says it, and she has better delivery than anyone I can think of. I think there's tons of artists like that we really like. Someone like Bob Dylan. Not an especially good voice, but a really interesting voice and a good storytelling voice. I think Taylor has that, and I think she is just an extraordinary songwriter and really great storyteller, and is at such a level of fame that almost her fame is a role within her storytelling. And I'm not mad at that. I think that's really interesting. And I think Reputation, this whole past album, has been really cool. And I think she's been really honest that she went over to pop with really her last three records, with Red, and then officially with 1989 with Reputation. And I think her music's been really good. I think the songwriting has suffered a little bit, but I think there are, I really liked the acoustic stuff that she was kind of putting out with Speak Now, and Red is my favorite Taylor album. I think it was the happiest medium between pop and country, but Reputation certainly is like a full-on pop record, and look, she hasn't done any media for it. I'm actually going to talk about Reputation in some other video. I'm thinking about doing a series called Rear View Reviews, or like an album rear view. Tell me if that's stupid, but where you look back at a whole era instead of just reviewing the album right when it comes out, but you really review the whole era. I think that could be sort of cool, but I'm not going to talk about Reputation too much right now. Suffice it to say, Taylor's been pop for a while, and we all know it. So, the point of this video is Taylor making a return to country. I have 5 real examples that I think are sort of evidence that this is happening, and that I'd be really excited to see, because I want to see her get back to her singer-songwriter roots. And I want to go through them now. So, the first one, it starts even before Reputation, and that was her giving Better Man to Little Big Town. So Little Big Town is a country group. They released this song, Better Man, a couple years ago. It became a huge #1 hit, and it won Song of the Year at the CMAs, which they accepted on her behalf. But that was an interesting move. I mean, Taylor knows that whatever she does, it's going to become big news. And she sent them this song and said, hey, you should release this. And the media ate it up, and it was a really good song. And once you knew that Taylor had written it, it took a few weeks for that news to come out. You could totally hear that it was a Taylor track. So it seemed like, okay, after all this time of saying, I'm not a country artist, it was sort of just a reminder, hey, country world, haven't forgotten about you. So, fast forward to Reputation, the last track on Reputation, New Year's Day, and very unlike the whole rest of the album, this really sort of sparse ballad, and I'm going to play this for like 2 seconds. Really back to her kind of singer-songwriter style. I love this song. You know, in some ways, that song at the end of Reputation, to me, signified like, you know I've had a bunch of trap beats on this record, and I know Future's on this record, and I know that it's very much like a sort of like industrial sounding, like steely album, but this was, I felt, sort of a way out of this sort of cynical, media broken pop world that she was in. And it's almost like New Year's Day was her saying, okay, I'm ready to get back to kind of my roots and what I'm best at. And that's just put me at a piano, give me a guitar, and let me write a song about how I'm feeling. It to me looked like a way forward, especially her ending the record with that. It, sort of, was like, okay, here was that whole first half of the record, and now we're moving on. So, that's a looser piece of evidence, but I think it's indicative of something that we're seeing here. So, Better Man to Little Big Town, then releasing New Year's Day. Third example that I'm going to say is that Taylor recently played a show at the BLUEBIRD Cafe. Insert clip here. Now, the BLUEBIRD Cafe, for anyone that doesn't know, anyone that gave up on Nashville after like 3 episodes, like I had to, because that show, I just always wished it was better. But the BLUEBIRD Cafe is extremely, extremely famous. It's sort of an iconic rite of passage within Nashville, and it is the place where songwriters go to try out their material, and it's sort of uniquely a place where it's like a bar where you really go to listen to the songwriting. And Taylor played there a couple weeks ago. She performed "Shake It Off." She was collaborating with like a very well-known artist in Nashville whose name escapes me right at the moment, but she played with him, and that's a really interesting symbol. I mean, that's like the equivalent of, a political campaigner going to like a 9/11 memorial. Like it says something that's important. Like the BLUEBIRD, it's an interesting place. And hey, maybe Taylor's just trying to do Taylor, and honestly, that's the whole point of Reputation. So this video, I even feel a little annoyed at myself for making it. Just let the girl be herself. But it does sort of send a signal that, hey, Nashville, again, I haven't forgotten about you. So fourth example that I'm going to say is that it was just announced in a press release this past week that on the new Sugarland album, Sugarland, a very popular country duo that sang, among other things, Stay and Love Your Baby Girl and a bunch of stuff, Stuck Like Glue. There's a cut on their new record called Babe that was written by Taylor Swift and Pat Monahan. Now, this was a track that, if you read back, Pat Monahan had mentioned it in interviews a couple times in like 2013 that was supposed to be on Red. But so they wrote it, I guess, sometime in 2012. But it didn't make the cut, and it didn't make the deluxe edition. And so I guess Taylor's been sitting on this song for like 5 years, but she gave it to Little Big Town, who's now her label mates because they're signed to Big Machine. So maybe she was just doing them a solid, or doing Scott Borchetta, who runs Big Machine, a solid. But it definitely seems like, much like with Little Big Town, Taylor's willing to let her songwriting kind of exist within the country music world again. Hey, so it's been like 2 days since I shot the rest of this video. I'm just getting off work now. But in that time, it's come out that Babe, featuring Taylor Swift, is actually going to be Sugarland's second single. So this could be a way that, Taylor is testing the waters of country radio. They a little bit pushed New Year's Day, her label did at least, to country radio around New Year's. It didn't do much of anything because it kind of seemed like a novelty single. But the plot thickens with this song. Taylor Swift, featured on a Sugarland song at least, is going to have a song on country radio. So it felt like I had to add that in. It was relevant news. And then finally, I'm going to have a fifth example right here, and that is this cover of September that was like a promo performance. I say this because it's this, if it was just some random promo performance, then I probably wouldn't mention this, but Taylor's done no promo. That's kind of been the whole name of the game with Reputation and this whole era. And she released this cover of September that people are hating on because people are stupid. Like, I'll play a second of it right here. It really reminds me of Long Live, actually. So, man, I think it's actually a really cool take on the song. I don't think she is disrespecting the black community. I don't think that argument really holds any water. I mean, she covered a song. It ain't that serious. And I don't think she took the flavor out of it. I think she made it a very different flavor. September by Earth, Wind & Fire, this is like my own little mini rant, but September by Earth, Wind & Fire is all about like the celebration of love. And Taylor kind of takes a wistful spin on it, where it's like almost looking back on a love that was. So I think it's a really different take on the song. I think it's really Swiftian and really good. And anyway, but it's very much in this kind of, you hear the light guitar and the harmonies and the acoustics, and you're like, whoa, I forgot that this was how Taylor sounded for most of her career. And it really works. But she just released this last week, and it blew up the internet. And to me, it was recorded for Spotify at the Tracking Room in Nashville. So again, another sort of Nashville like olive branch of sorts. And all of it, to me, if you add up all the pieces and add up Taylor's sort of desire to not talk to media, not play the pop game, which it seems on Reputation she sort of learned is maybe too much for her, and she can't handle it. It seems to be signifying like moving back in the direction of country music. So, I mean, quite ironically, we have Thomas Rhett now dropping, EDM tracks, and BB Rexa and Florida Georgia Line, and Maren Morris is on the middle, and that's fine. Artists can do what they want to do, but it will be hilariously ironic if Taylor, who was, sort of treated as like the antichrist of country music, and she was extremely poppy for the format when she was kind of on the way up, it returns to country music being much more acoustic and singer-songwritery than most of what's happening in country. So that'll just be hilarious to me if that ends up being what comes to pass in the next few years. But I just want to make this video sort of reading the tea leaves and saying, like, I think something's happening with Taylor Swift, and at least in Nashville music, whether or not it's country music, but she seems to be willing to sort of revisit those waters, and I think that would actually be really good for the industry, and if nothing else, it might sort of help restore the idea that, women can get played on the radio, women have a spot in country music. It's funny because I'm like, not really, I think a lot of like feminist ideology is pretty crazy, but I'm like, I like beat my chest about women in country music because I think it's crazy how little they're listened to. So anyway, that's what this video is. Taylor Swift seems to be plotting a return to country music. I'd be excited to see it. Would you? Or do you think, hey, stay in pop, you're doing fine there? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be back with more kind of reactions and reviews. This is a random video, but I've got some fun stuff planned for this channel. I'm enjoying filming again. So, alright guys, later. And don't copyright this, Taylor. Please. I played like 5 seconds of your songs.